Hello, I'm Nate, aka B-Tier Mutineer, and today, as part of my B-Tier guides, I'm going to take you through a build guide for Oghren in Dragon Age Origins. Oghren tends to be recruited late in the game, as Orzammar is one of the most difficult areas, so it's difficult to build him into anything else than what he already is. For this reason, I will mention two mods that you can use if you want to have more control over Oghren's build. The first is the Specialization mod. It gives you a lot of flexibility since it will refund all the points he has in combat talents, skills, and attribute points. You can do a partial respec if you want him to keep his specialization, or a full respec if you want to get the specialization point. However, you can use a different mod that doesn't fully erase a companion's identity. The Dane's Fixes mod that I've mentioned in a few of my videos has a tweak called follower scaling that stops companions from auto-scaling past level 7 when you recruit them. That way, even if you recruit them at a higher level, they will only spend their points up to level 7, letting you use the remaining points however you see fit. I find that for Oghren, these mods are sorely needed since the companion auto-scaling is pretty bad, especially in terms of attribute points. Oghren's build tends towards a damager two-handed warrior, so that's the type of build I'll be showing you. This also works well with the fact that my Sten build guide shows you what a defender type two-handed warrior is like, so with Oghren you get to see the damaging side. For some reason, the Dragon Age wiki didn't have Oghren's initial skills listed, so I had to go look in the game for them. With my followers don't autoscale tweak installed, he has fully maxed out combat training. Other than combat training, I can't imagine what skills Oghren would have if you recruit him at a higher level however, perhaps survival or tactics? Oghren has the Berserker specialization unlocked, as well as the Berserk and Resilience talents unlocked, Constraint if he's level 13, and Final Blow if he's level 18. The Berserker specialization works well with the damaging variant of a two-handed warrior. I will say however that the Final Blow ability isn't that good, because if it hits, it will deactivate all the sustained abilities Oghren has active for honestly not even an amazing amount of damage. Perhaps if you stack your stamina a lot and have a lot of it available when you use Final Blow, then it will do a lot of damage, but just use the Berserk Sustained with the Resilience and Constraint upgrades and you'll have a general bonus to your damage, which is much better. From the warrior tree, Oghren has Powerful, Threaten, and Bravery, and also Deathblow if he's level 14. Powerful, Bravery, and Deathblow are great for a damager. Don't use Threaten however, because I recommend having a second warrior in your party if you use Oghren so that the other warrior can act as the tank. Doesn't matter who you use, a warrior, warden, Alistair, Sten, or even Shale can all work fine as tanks. Powerful gives health and reduces fatigue from wearing armor. Bravery is an amazing passive that gives a lot of bonuses: damage, physical resistance, mental resistance, and crit chance, with the crit chance increasing for each enemy above 2 who is attacking the warrior. Deathblow is really good for a damager warrior, especially with the auto-crit abilities like Mighty Blow and Critical Strike. Oghren will most likely land the killing blow on quite a few enemies, so it makes sense to regain stamina from that so he can use his talents more often. From the two-handed tree, he has Pommel Strike, Indomitable, Stunning Blows if he's level 15, and Critical Strike if he's level 19. He also has Sunder Arms, Shattering Blows, and Sunder Armor if he's level 12. Finally, he has Mighty Blow, Powerful Swings if he's level 16, Two-Handed Strength if he's level 17, and Two-Handed Sweep if he's level 20. If you wonder how you can recruit Oghren at level 20, know that in one of my earliest playthroughs of Origins, I did very much recruit Oghren at level 20, and then proceeded to never use him again after getting through the deep roads because he kinda sucked due to his attributes being all over the place. The discussion of two-handed talents here is very similar to the one in my Sten build guide. A lot of the two-handed talents are passives, which leaves the two-handed warriors with not that many active talents to use, so you will see a lot of overlap. Pommel Strike is cheap and it's a good fast stun, very good to use on mages who are concentrating on a spell, or other characters who are in the process of using an ability you don't want them to finish, usually a talent that will CC one of your characters. Indomitable is a useful sustained to keep active because it will make Oghren immune to knockdown effects. Stunning Blows makes your crits have a 50% chance to stun the opponent. Critical Strike is good, but it is just an auto crit. The only added bonus being that it can kill a non-boss enemy who is under 20% HP. But at that point, you're able to probably kill it in 1 or 2 attacks anyway, so I just tend to use Critical Strike on enemies that are frozen or petrified to hopefully shatter them. Sunder Arms does decent damage and also gives a penalty of -10 attack to the target if they fail a physical resistance check. Shattering Blows is a passive that gives a bonus to damage against constructs. Golems, Sylvans, corpses, and skeletons are constructs. You will fight a decent amount of constructs throughout the game, so it is good to have a two-headed warrior in those areas with you, but unfortunately, as far as I'm aware, in the vanilla game there is a bug that means no actual additional damage is applied to constructs, so if you want this passive to work properly you will need to use Dane's Fixes. Sunder Armor is a great talent that reduces a target's armor so that you and your companions can deal more damage to it. Mighty Blow has a plus 10 attack bonus to strike, and it's an automatic crit if it connects with the target. I like using Mighty Blow on petrified or frozen targets to have a chance to shatter them. Powerful Swings is a sustained talent that I actually recommend on Oghren because it will give him plus 5 to damage. But make sure to only use it once you unlock the two-handed strength passive, so that the penalty to his attack and defense are only -5. Two-handed strength is not only good due to the fact that it reduces the attack and defense penalty of powerful swings, but also because it increases Oghren's armor penetration by 25%. He'll be able to melt through the armor of highly armored enemies like ogres, revenants, and other big bad creatures, especially if you give him more gear with armor penetration. Two-handed sweep is the only area of effective weapon ability available to two-handed warriors, so absolutely take it. I recommend using it when being surrounded by at least 2 or 3 enemies. It also has a chance to knock them down. In terms of gear, Oghren starts out with a battle axe, the dwarven heavy armor set, and the one for the ditch accessory that goes in the belt slot. The battle axe is super basic. I recommend having a better weapon to switch to ASAP. The dwarven heavy armor also isn't good. The set bonus is +1 to armor. Even heavy chainmail is better with its reduction of the cost of talents. One for the ditch is alright since it gives Oghren +1 to constitution and +10 physical resistance, but I would swap it for something better if you can. What talents you will have left to acquire for Oghren mainly depends on the level you recruit him at, as well as if you have the followers don't autoscale tweak or the respec mod to rearrange his attributes and talents to your liking. So here I will go through all of the talents that are useful for Oghren to use. If I've mentioned them previously in his starting abilities, they will only get a cursory mention, and if they're new, I'll explain why they're good. From the Berserker tree, I've mentioned that Berserk is great, together with the 2 upgrades for it, Resilience and Constraint. From the Warrior tree, I recommend Powerful, Bravery, and Deathblow. I considered optionally recommending Precise Striking for a bonus to crit chance, but it slows down the already slow two-handed attacks, and you're already going to get extra damage from Berserk and Powerful Swings, so you don't care all that much about the crit chance, all things considered. From the two-handed tree, the good talents are Pommel Strike, Indomitable, Stunning Blows, Critical Strike, Sunder Arms, Shattering Blows, Sunder Armor, and Destroyer. Destroyer is a great passive that makes each attack reduce the effectiveness of the target's armor. Unfortunately, there is a bug that only applies this effect to critical strikes in the vanilla game, but Dane's fixes takes care of that. Finally, Mighty Blow, Powerful Swings, Two-Handed Strength, and Two-Handed Sweep are also very good. In all honesty, the specialization Oghren already has, Berserker, is more than enough for his damager build. The only second specialization I can recommend is the Templar, since if you want, you can just spend 1 point in it to get the Righteous Strike passive to drain mana from spellcasters with each attack. The other 3 Templar talents aren't necessary, though of course they are useful. You'll find that you're way more interested in maxing out the two-handed tree and getting the 3 Berserker points instead of maxing out the Templar tree, but I do recommend putting that 1 point in Righteous Strike for some extra effectiveness against mages. Because two-handed warriors need more stamina to use their abilities and keep up their sustains, I recommend every time you level up Oghren to give him 2 points in strength and 1 point in willpower, the same as I mentioned for Sten's build. You'll also want to be on the lookout for gear with extra willpower or stamina. I always recommend maxing out combat training first, but Oghren already comes with it maxed out. So secondly, I recommend maxing out the survival skill. For this, you will have to put a few points in cunning so that Oghren has 16 cunning, but it's just a few points. Otherwise, you can do tactics or poison making, so Oghren can use grenades if you'd like to give him a few more AoE options. As I mentioned in the attributes section, you'll want items that give Oghren extra stamina so he can use his talents more often. This is even more important than in Sten's case because you want Oghren to use his talents very often so that he can deal a lot of damage. You'll also have to ensure that Oghren has gear with high armor so that he takes less damage since he doesn't need any points in dexterity and is thus easier to hit. For Oghren's gear, I will assume that you recruit him in the mid-game at the earliest, so you will have access to decent mid and late-game items, so I won't be mentioning any early-game options. Also, I will point out that the items that two-handed warriors prefer are pretty much the same, regardless of whether they're more of a damager or a defender. Due to this, I don't recommend using both Oghren and Sten in your active party at the same time, since they will very likely be competing for gear. For weapons, I recommend the following. The Starfang Greatsword is a weapon you can craft at Soldier's Peak after reclaiming it. It has good stats, but since you can also choose to craft a longsword version of Starfang, I don't consider this a must-have, and the next 3 weapons are much better anyway. Faith's Edge has decent stats. It is similar to the Dragonbone Cleaver, but it has much less of everything. It is free, however. You just need to kill Kolgrim during the Urn of Sacred Ashes quest. The Dragonbone Cleaver is an amazing battle axe, but it is a DLC item that you only have access to if you got the Vartoral's Fall achievement during Witch Hunt. It is the second best two-handed weapon. It has bonuses to damage, willpower, as well as critical damage. If you don't have the Dragonbone Cleaver unlocked, I recommend the Nug Crusher Maul as an alternative. You can get it from the Return to Ostagar DLC, and the plus 100 bonus to stamina and the chance to stun are amazing. The best two-handed weapon bar none is the Chastened Great Maul. It gives bonuses to damage, armor penetration, stamina regeneration, and stamina. It is very expensive, however, and you can only purchase it from Oghren and Denerim after you finish 3 main quests. If you can't afford the Chastened Great Maul, you can keep using the Dragonborn Cleaver or the Nug Crusher. In terms of armor, I recommend the same 3 armor sets I recommended for Sten. Wade's Superior Heavy Dragon Scale set with Yvonne the Great's Mail is the best in slot. Then Kaelin's set and the Warden Commander set are also good options, which you have access to earlier since they're items from DLC areas. Wade's Superior Heavy Dragon Scale armor is the best, especially if you substitute the chest piece with Yvonne the Great's Mail, which you can purchase from Oghren and Wade's Smithy after you complete 3 main quests. Yvonne's Mail has amazing stats, and you also get the set bonus from Wade's with it. Keep in mind that you will have to only commission 1 set of Drake Scale armor from Wade until you buy Yvonne's Mail, because after making the second Drake Scale armor, Oghren will refuse to trade with you. Kaelin's set has armor, mental resistance, critical damage, physical resistance, chance to dodge, as well as minus 25% fatigue and plus 5 health regeneration in combat. You can find Kaelin's full set in the Return to Ostagar DLC. As a third option, I recommend the massive set Warden Commander armor, which you can get from the Soldier's Peak DLC by killing Sophia. In case you don't want to fight the High Dragon for the Dragon Scales, or you can't afford buying Yvonne's Mail, or you just want to use Wade's set for your Warden or another character, you can use Kaelin's set or the Warden Commander sets on Oghren just fine. They are just not going to maximize his damage. You'll notice that if you're using Wade's set or the Warden Commander set, they do not have a helmet associated with the set. In that case, I recommend the following 2 helmets. The Executioner's Helm for the 25 extra stamina. It's possible to loot this from various places or to purchase it from Sisar's special stock in Denerim if you've done the Trail of Crows questline. The Light Helmet Long Runner's Cap is also really good, considering the fact that it's a light helmet. You can loot it from the Carta Hideout from Jarvia or find it in Jammer's box as part of the Jammer stash quest in the Carta Hideout. I like it because it has extra stamina regeneration, so if you think you have enough max stamina from attributes and gear, you can use this cap instead of the Executioner's Helm so that Oghren can regenerate stamina faster and use his talents more often. Now for the accessories. As always, remember that there are some highly contested items, the Spell Ward and the High Regard of House Dace amulets, the Andrew's Blessing and Cinch of Skillful Maneuvering belts, and the Life Giver Ring of Ages and Key to the City rings. I will always mention these items, but never recommend them in any of my builds because it's up to you to choose who gets to equip these items, whether you have enough coin to purchase some of them in the first place, or if you've unlocked them from achievements yet or not. With that out of the way, here are some good belts. Dalish Hunter's Belt, sold by Bodan in the party camp for stamina regeneration. This would be my top choice. Or the Sword Belt, purchasable from Gorham and Denerim for armor penetration. Some good amulets. I would go with the Shaper's Amulet or the Parvolan Willstone for the +2 to willpower. Otherwise, Feral Wolf Charm and Heart of Witherfang are also good options. Some good rings. Morgan's ring for +2 to willpower, though try explaining to Morgan why the drunk dwarf is wearing the ring she gave you as a gift. The Harvest Festival ring for strength, dexterity, and attack, though you will likely want to give this to a sword and shield or dual wielding character. Ring of the Warrior is good for the +2 to strength and dexterity, but similarly to the Harvest Festival ring, you will likely want to use it on a sword and shield or dual wielding character. The Lucky Stone is a decent DLC item that gives you +1 to all attributes. And finally, the Wicked Oath is a DLC ring that I highly recommend for damagers because of the crit damage, armor penetration, and stamina regeneration. This build sets up Oghren for a two-handed damager variant, and we're looking for him to do a lot of damage while staying alive with high armor and having enough stamina to use his damaging abilities often. If you're just looking to use a preset for Oghren, the Scrapper preset is okay because it will activate Berserk and powerful swings. However, I do recommend also having Indomitable up if you have the stamina to spare, so that Oghren can be immune to knockdown and stay on his feet so that he can keep attacking enemies. The Scrapper preset also sets up Critical Strike and Mighty Blow to be used on the nearest visible enemy, which I don't really approve of. Critical Strike and Mighty Blow should mainly be used on frozen and petrified enemies to shatter them, or otherwise on enemies who have less than half health to try to kill them with a crit. Sunder Armor is correctly set to target an enemy with high or medium armor rating, and Two-Handed Sweep is similarly well set up in the Scrapper preset to activate when Oghren is surrounded by at least 2 enemies. Sunder Arms is much lower priority than Critical Strike, Mighty Blow, and Sunder Armor as a single target damaging ability, but if you have a lot of stamina and you're waiting on cooldowns, you can definitely use it in a pinch. Finally, I recommend either adding in Oghren's tactic slots if you have some free, or keeping an eye on enemies during fights, so that if there is a mage, Oghren uses Pommel Strike on them and otherwise focuses them. Pommel Strike to quickly stop them from casting spells, and focusing them because mages are powerful and they can ruin fights if you don't kill them first. I believe this would be set up in tactics as enemy using type of attack, magic attack, and have 2 slots, one that says that Oghren uses Pommel Strike, and the other one that simply says attack for him to attack the enemy mage. In conclusion, despite the fact that you recruit Oghren very late in the game, you can indeed use him as a damager two-handed warrior. He works much better if you can respecialize him to reallocate his attributes correctly, or if you at least have the no auto-scaling past level 7 tweak from Dane's fixes. But even with suboptimal attributes, if you give Oghren good gear, he can really shine in terms of damage output. I hope you enjoyed this character build guide for Oghren in Dragon Age Origins. If you're looking forward to seeing more of my Dragon Age videos, as well as occasionally some videos on other RPGs, do remember to subscribe and leave a like and comment while you're at it too. This has been B Tier Mutineer. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.